Okay, thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is Didi Kato. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at Synactive, and I'm joined by Aparna Desai, Solution Engineering Manager at Synactive. Today, we're going to be introducing some new solutions we've developed that are now available on our price list. Here's the agenda. I'm going to walk through a brief presentation on who we are and our products, and then we'll go into the new plant maintenance solutions and material management solutions. We've also included some Screencams as well as part of these solutions, and then at the end we'll take some questions and wrap it up. Okay, so who are we? This is a high-level view of our founders and where we started. Our founders came from SAP more than a decade ago, and basically there's two of them. Dr. Gerhard Rodet, who was the 50th employee of SAP. He wrote the ABAP language and is also known as the father of ABAP. And here at headquarters in California is Thomas Yu. He worked at SAP Labs in Palo Alto, where he initiated the Java GUI. Because our founders came from SAP, we have embodied the best core technology from SAP. We've embraced it and extended it, extended the world-class ERP platform, basically giving it wings. We've been selected as complementary software to SAP since 1998, and we've been bundled with SAP. We've been certified with Netweaver portals and embedded in Netweaver Business Client as well. And we have over 900 customers worldwide. And in fact, you'll see many of our SEs using our product in pre-sale situations to show simplified SAP screens. Here on the right, it shows our history and our breadth of solutions. It's all about innovation. Since 1998, we've developed a number of products, as you can see in our history. Breadth of customers. Here we have a sample of some of our customers. We span across multiple industries, functional areas. We have customers in manufacturing, utilities, consumer goods, wholesale, life sciences, chemical, oil and gas. It spans across different functional areas, as well as finance, HR, inventory management, purchasing, etc. Okay, so before we get started, I wanted to take a quick poll to find out your role in the organization. So if you could, please select whether you're a process owner or line of business manager, whether you're an IT developer or an architect, whether you're a senior manager, whether you're a CIO or IT executive or other. And we'll give you 10 or so seconds here to answer the question. This will give us a basis of how to gear the presentation, depending on the audience. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so let's jump into the next section. Some of the challenges that we see on the market is the disconnect between SAP and business users. As we know, SAP is very transactional oriented. There's a lot of technical terms. It's generic for different industries. And so the issues that we see is that it has a non-intuitive interface. And that typically leads to user errors, data integrity issues, user adoption issues, and also additional training requirements.
Okay, we got a comment saying the mic is cutting off. See what the issue is here.
Okay.
Okay. Hope this is a little bit better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so how do we solve those issues? We have a number of solutions, and so this is a high-level view of the products that we offer on the market. As you know, GuiXT is shipped with SAP. It's a technology that's shipped with SAP, and on top of that, we've built a number of extensions. We have desktop solutions. So we have the ability to customize screens, the SAPGUI screens. We can also embed that within Netweaver Business Client. We have portal-based solutions, browser-based solutions. We have a PDF or an Excel front-end solution for SAP. And we also have a number of mobile solutions as well. We have an online solution for smartphones and tablets. For Windows mobile devices or handheld devices, we have both an online and offline solution. And for mobile laptops, like Toughbooks, we have both online and offline solutions. And on top of that, we've recently introduced some business applications, or what we're calling optimization packages. Okay, so these are solutions that we customize for you through our consulting. And if you want to build these solutions on your own, we have a developer toolkit that makes it fairly simple to build these applications. So today, we're going to be talking about the plant maintenance planning and scheduling console. We're going to be talking about the plant maintenance optimization package, material management optimization package, and the material management decision-making console. The consoles are basically dashboards, and then Aparna is going to be talking about some of these optimization packages. Okay, so just to go over an end-to-end use case of how to use our products, here's an example. This is a procure-to-pay example where someone's ordering an item, and the first thing that happens is a purchase requisition is created. Typically done with SAP, maybe on a desktop. The next step in the process, the manager has to approve that requisition. So he can do it maybe when he's traveling on the road using his smartphone or tablet. The next step in the process, there's inventory needs to be checked by the buyer, and if it's not in inventory, then converts the purchase requisition to a purchase order. And then the item finally comes in to receiving. So the dock worker gets the item and can use the scan gun to get the information into his device and then submit that into SAP. And then the last step in the process is when an invoice is received. And finance or accounting gets the information, populates a PDF form or an Excel spreadsheet, and then submits that information back into SAP. So the next couple of slides talk about each one of these touch points. I'll start out with the employee on the desktop. So here's the user-friendly interface. As you can see here, it's been the screens have been aggregated into one. It moved from 7 screens with native SAP to 1. And you can see here all the blue. They're basically tips that have been added. And here on the right here, there's tips. Here, there's embedded HTML. Also, you can see here with the price, if it's over 500,000 USD dollars, then you'll see down here that it's a required field. So in fact, the reason for requisition needs to be filled in. In this case, this customer was getting a high value purchase requisition, so didn't know the reason why. So they'd have to call and track down the person who created the purchase requisition, right, which caused a delay. What else? There's group boxes and radio buttons that we've created. You can change the terminology to fit your business. So in this case, for this customer, in fact, they saved 100K and just around overtime. There were basically 10 people in the group, and they were doing 10,000 purchase requisitions per year. So if one person was out for any reason, then they'd have a backlog. They'd have to pay overtime. It was difficult to use. So when they did the ROI, it saved them 100K. But this really didn't include things like training costs, additional error rates, right? So they saved a large amount of dollars, minimizing it down to one screen, reducing the number of people required to do the same amount of work. Okay, the next in this purchase example, now the manager is receiving the requisition, needs to approve it. So let's say he's on the road. We've extended SAP to smartphones and tablets so he can do the actual approval from his device. Okay, the next step in the process in this example involves a buyer who needs to check inventory, and if the item is not in stock, then a PO is generated. So again, the buyer sees a simplified, streamlined view, maybe from Netweaver Business Client or Netweaver Portal. Many of you have the Netweaver Business Client, so we provide full integration. In Netweaver Business Client, there's basically different links or favorites for different transactions. So we're able to simplify that and customize it with our technology. Next step in the process, the item comes into receiving. The dock worker can use a scan gun or RFID scanner to get all the required information, confirms the goods were received. We support any Windows mobile device, including intermec, simple handheld devices. And also, if there's no network connectivity, in the case of dock workers, many times there isn't any network connectivity, we have an offline solution. Okay, and the last step in the process, the invoice is received. So in this case, a PDF document with fields are mapped to SAP and used as a front end by accounting personnel. Okay, so this basically shows our user-friendly interface with multiple touch points around SAP. You know, the key to our success really is that we deliver a unified user interface strategy across not only mobile platforms but also desktop platforms without having to change your SAP business logic or back end. Through our technology that's shipped with SAP and through the extensions we have built on top of the technology, we can extend SAP business processes with the same business logic, same security and authorizations to different front ends using JavaScript. What this provides for users is not only the simplified user interface for various touch points, but also bridges the gap between business and IT with reduced development and faster time to value. We've seen many of our customers use our tools, working with the business very closely, and making these changes very quickly in an agile manner to build the different front ends for different users. Okay, so before we jump into now the solutions, the 4 solutions, wanted to take a quick poll here on how many of you actually have the SAP Plant Maintenance module in your organization. Again, this is to guide our presentation. We'll give you another couple seconds here to answer. Okay. Thank you. And the next question is, as well has to do with, oh, okay. No, we're just going to go into, okay, go ahead. So we're going to just share the results here. Okay, so many of you do have the plant maintenance project. Okay, good. Okay, so let's move forward to the next slide. Okay, so here's another question around material management. Since we're talking about these 2 focused areas, we wanted to get an idea on how many of you actually have plant maintenance in this or material management. So please answer this question. Wow, okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into these actual solutions that we built. And I wanted to show you, demonstrate the solutions, but first let's talk about some of the challenges that we saw and why we built this solution. We found that a lot of people using plant maintenance today, the planners and schedulers, found it difficult when you have to work with multiple work orders. It was very inefficient because they had to dig into different screens in order to schedule the maintenance. There were a lot of errors. There wasn't a centralized view. They had to use multiple transactions, and the screens were cluttered. It affected productivity, basically. So reducing screen time for planner schedule supervisors, it really helps to maintain their backlog. Plus the ability to change large amounts of data at the press of a button. Instead of repeating the same action over and over, planners and schedulers, they wanted to make mass changes in one smooth, simple step. So what we found is that some of our customers, they would use this, which would reduce their time. So here's an example: an average of 5 minutes per work order was reduced to 30 seconds, and then increased productivity by 90%. As you can see here, planners and schedulers, this is like a reference card, so they would use this to use SAP, and they would have to perform a number of steps. They would have to, if a work center is listed on hundreds of work items, for example, he'd have to look at each work order, figure out what a specific work center has to perform, and if the plant maintenance order has many operations in many work centers, it's difficult for the supervisor planner to know when his work center is required. Now you could use Excel or basic list edit screens or IW37N as shown here, but it's still labor intensive, right? So you first have to select in process release to change the work order operation within a released work order. You have to enter in the appropriate order type, you have to enter the appropriate functional location, etc. And then you finally have to do the search here. There's many steps involved. And this is only for one transaction. So you can imagine with additional transactions, right, there can be over 40 fields that the user has to navigate through, some of which are required, some are not. And then if there's errors, it adds additional time. With the new console solution that we're providing, we put only the fields that the user wants to see. This view shows a supervisor view. So once a supervisor logs in, we read their profile and only show information for their plant. So if I belong to plant ABC, for example, I only want to see my plant information. If you're in Texas, you might see a different plant information. On the left-hand side is the launchpad. So these are only the transactions that the supervisor role would need. So they don't have to remember T-codes. The middle part shows a number of work orders filtered by priority status, P1, P2, P5, and the stage that it's in. Whether the order is received, whether the order is being initiated, whether the order is in process, or it's overdue or past due. These are basically 3 or 4 letter acronyms. RSCH, for example, means it refers to a released order. So basically, IW37 was used with filters to get the work orders, and GuiXT calculated the numbers and displayed them in this matrix of push buttons. So now you have these push buttons here. When you push on one of these push buttons, in this case, maybe I want to select here the total. You see the green indicator shows that this has been selected. And now on the right, you'll see all the 32 work orders. So again, depending on what you click on, it brings up the appropriate work order list on the right-hand side. Click on any one of these. If you select a work order, say you select this work order here, you get more detail on the operations, on the components, and on the cost. Any other details can be easily added through our JavaScript. This is just one example of what we've done. In this case, for operations, we're showing the operation, the description, the work center, the work duration, etc. But again, we can display anything else from SAP that the user needs. You can also specify a work center. So here I changed the work center to electric. And if you click update, it's basically transaction IR02. And this shows now the available capacity of that work center. When you plan your maintenance orders, you need to match capacity requirements with the available capacity. And in this process step, you check the percentage of available capacity required by your maintenance order. You can also filter the date, the start date and finish date. Okay, so this is the same screen now, but it's based on the scheduler role. So it has a different layout from the supervisor role. Okay, there's also a planner role, again with a different view. So depending on who you are, you will see a different view. Many organizations require segregation of duties so that certain people don't have access to certain information, and a lot of times this is a compliance issue. So GuiXT makes it very easy to make it role-based. There's also various filters for the scheduler view. In this case, you can put in the finish date, and only those work orders with that finish date will be displayed here on the right-hand side. Okay, and one of the cool features as well for this console is the ability to make mass changes. So besides filtering, now we can actually take actions on these work orders instead of running the same transaction module multiple times for different work orders. So in this case, you select whichever transactions you want. In this case, I'm selecting all those with status PLIP. And if I click this button here, it does a mass status, change status. I want to change it from PLIP to AWAP, or awaiting approval. Another button here is to print. So again, you can select any one of these or multiple work orders and print them. You just select the ones you want to print, and GuiXT basically gathers all the work orders and uses IW32 to print the orders one by one. It shows the standard pop-up for the user to print. And you can also do, well, the next screen shows the availability check. So again, you can select any number of these, and it checks the material availability on multiple work orders. It goes to each order and checks the availability of the components. And if it's not available, it needs to be procured. So this is a quick way to find out if you have everything to complete the work order. Another button is the ability to check for permits on multiple work orders. So if you create a work permit with the order, without the permit, you basically can't perform the work. So again, this is a way to do mass checks on multiple work orders. Okay, so just to summarize, these are all the features that I've shown you with this new console. And basically, it enables data collection, decision making to be faster, easier. It improves efficiencies and it ensures more value from your SAP investment. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to Aparna, who will talk about a second solution. It's an optimization package for plant maintenance.
Thank you, Didi. Okay, so Didi touched upon the supervisor role or the planner scheduler role in the PM area. What I'm going to talk about is the technician role. Okay, so the common challenges that a technician would face working with SAP. Okay, of course, too many screens, the user's not computer savvy, lot of training required to work with the SAP screens. They have to remember the workflow or carry those heavy manuals with them, taking away the wrench time from them. Okay, they spend more time on the computer trying to enter data or print the information or order a component to complete the work versus actually fixing the equipment to reduce the downtime. So basically what GuiXT provides is easy to use solution for your technicians, which includes creating notifications, work orders, you can do time confirmations, you can print the work orders, and if you have enough authorization, you can release them as well from that one single launch pad. You also have the capability to render those screens to the mobile devices or an iPad, as Didi was mentioning earlier in the presentation. The ROI that we have seen in this area, particularly with the technician role, is drastic reduction in time. It is cutting it down by almost 50%. Okay, and the dollar amount that you see there is from one of our customers. They saved about 90K just for the technician role in the PM module. Since we saw the poll, most of the users there or the attendees here have seen the PM screens. The before PM screens, you see a lot of screens you have to go through to create notification, to create a work order. If you're creating a breakdown work order, which is supposed to be attended immediately, you still have to go through multiple screens and 2 transactions to complete the process. What we can do here is one single launchpad for those users. And again, this can be customized or simplified based on user roles. Okay, so if you have a technician and a supervisor but have different information, you have different launchpads for them. One for the supervisor that Didi showed is very extensive and completely different functionality, but using the same transactions. Okay, and this is a technician role where you can create notifications, you can create work orders, you can confirm the time, and look at certain reports that you're authorized to. I'm going to show you a quick Screencam on what this can look like. Okay. So when a user logs in, I have a technician role. This is going to be my initial screen. You don't see the easy access screen. You don't have to navigate through the tree there or remember the transaction codes. You click on the push button here to create a notification, to create a work order. I'm going to start with creating a notification. So you put in the equipment. If you don't know the equipment, you can search for the equipment. Click on the push button, which takes you into standard SAP transactions, IW21. But again, here you don't see all those multiple tabs. Only the fields that the users have to either view or enter information in. Most of the information on the screens are defaulted in based on user who logs in. They come in, enter the problem, and then they can click on the push button, which will release and save the notification for them and bring them back to the initial screen. Okay. Now here you can see the notification number being populated in the notification field. This is the one we just created. Now the user needs to convert this into a work order. And again, to do that in SAP, you have to go into the transaction, put in the same information again in work order screen, or within the notification, you have to click on create work order push button. A pop-up comes up, you enter the redundant information in there, which will then convert into a work order. Whereas with GuiXT, you can just click on the push button here, convert to work order. It takes the information from the notification, goes to IW31, populates all the information, defaults certain information. As you can see at the bottom of the screen here, it says it's saving the object list, determining the cost. This is all done in IW31. It creates the work order for you behind the scene. You're not leaving the launchpad here. Now you have the work order created. Okay, so you have notification, work order. The user can print the work order with just one click. They have what they need to perform the work. They go do the work, come back, and now they have to confirm time. Again, another transaction in SAP. Okay. But again, when they log in, they're on the screen here. You put in the work order number. You click on confirm time. Okay. Or if you want, you can change the work order. Let me show the change first before I go into confirm time. Just want to point out that we have also simplified the work order screens. Okay. No multiple tabs to go through. You don't have to remember what fields you have to enter information in. Okay. Very straightforward. Only fields users need are on the screen here. Okay, so now the users confirm the time. They click on the push button, and this takes them again to an SAP transaction. And we have again only the fields users need. They come in, select the catalog codes. Now the catalog codes are on a notification transaction in SAP. It's a completely different transaction. But what we did here was put the same information on this one screen for the users to select the catalog codes. They can put in a time. Now here the user forgot to enter the breakdown duration and they tried to technically complete it. GuiXT is going to give them an error saying breakdown is required. And this is before the data even goes to SAP. Now the user enters the breakdown duration, the time it took them to complete the work, and they can click on the push button, technically complete, which is going to run the time confirmation transaction and the notification in the background and bring them back to the initial screen. So the users don't remember the transaction codes. They don't have to be trained or retrained on the same transactions. They have more range time versus trying to figure out how SAP works. The other one I would like to show you here, and I'm just going to run quickly through this, is just the create work order. Okay, so if the users are not going through notification work order route, they can also create a breakdown work order. And when they click on that particular push button, we create the work order and the notification both together in the background. Okay, so they don't have to click on two buttons, create notification and convert to work order. Click on breakdown work order, IW31 transaction, the users, they come in, enter the necessary information, which is typically just the problem description. Other information is defaulted in based on their roles. And then you can release and save. Since this is a breakdown work order, you want to release it right away. And this is going to take the users back to the launchpad with the success message displayed. So you have the notification and the work order created by just one push button. Okay. So now, I'm going to ask you one more question, and this is regarding the MM. Now also, I would like to share you the results for the first poll that we did, which shows who the audience is. Okay, we have process owners, we have IT developers, and 30% of them are others. So assuming the others also belong partly to the IT side, I'm going to show you a quick demo of our developer tool. Okay, it's a part of the developer kit. It's called the Workbench. Okay. And I'm going to bring that up.
Did you close the poll?
Yes, I need to hide the poll here. Okay, go back to my screens here. Okay, so our Workbench tool allows you to record a transaction, and then you can create a simplified interface by just mapping it to the right UI. Okay, so you choose a front end, it will auto map, and then you can render the solution to either desktop, you can create an Excel or a PDF solution, either to a mobile device or web. Okay. And the way it works is in 3 steps. You record the process, you click on a push button, as you can see in the Screencam here. Alright, so in SAP, bring up my Workbench, go to a transaction that you want to simplify. Now since we are talking about PM, I'm just going to select notification transaction. This works on all transactions in SAP. It comes with pre-built templates that you can use to auto map your fields and create an interface. Now if there is a transaction in SAP that does not fit in that template, you also have the capability to create your own custom template. Okay. So I'm going to start the recorder here, and then go through my SAP transaction. Like as I'm a user, I would enter values in all the fields. Okay. The problem, I want the functional location to be captured, planner group, reported by. So you are entering values in all the fields that you want the users to either enter a value in or change. Okay, so now here the work center is defaulted in for me, but I want my users to check the work center or enter a value in work center. So I'm going to make an entry in the field so that my workbench captures that field. Go to the next tab that your users need. Put the values in the fields that you want to capture. Okay, and then I'm going to save the notification. This gives me the success message. Back to my workbench, I'm going to stop my recorder. So click on the record button again. Okay, and then save my recording. Now what Workbench does here in the record functionality is for every screen that you visit, it's going to create a block for you. Like what you see here, you have a screen block and you have all the fields checked that are being used or that were used during the recording. Okay. And then creates a GVL file. I'm going to save my file here. And then depending on where you want to render your solution, okay, whether it's for standard SAP GUI, which is a desktop, or you're going to create an Excel solution wherein the users enter the information on an Excel spreadsheet and then you populate into SAP or PDF, or you want to create an offline solution. In this example, I'm going to select Access because I'm going to show you how you can render the same screen to multiple devices or multiple touch points. So I click on Access here, and this creates the script for me. Okay, so this is the script right here that my Workbench creates. I'm going to rename it. This is all JavaScript. And then I'm going to refresh my SAP screen. Okay, so this is the new look of IW21. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it is still the same transaction. We're not creating any Z transaction or a Z screen. Everything is on the front end here. And I already have the data populated. And when I click on Submit, it's going to put that information into SAP for me and give me the success message at the bottom of the screen. So you see notification 647 saved. Now what I'm going to do is bring up my mobile emulator. Okay. Alright, and then log into SAP here. Same username, password. And this is the Windows C device Didi was mentioning, typically used in the dock or the warehouse or in the plant. Okay, you can scan the information. If you have RFID tags on your equipment, you can scan the equipment and then do a notification against that equipment or for that equipment. I'm going to enter the information here. Same screen as your desktop, right? Put in the information. Put the wrong value. Okay, and then I enter the malfunction start date and time. And then click on the same push button, submit. Okay, this runs the script that the Workbench created, passes the information from the GuiXT interface into SAP, and then you have the success message up there. Okay, 651 saved. Now you can render the same screen to a smartphone. Okay, we're not just restricted to handheld mobile scan guns. I'm going to bring up the BlackBerry emulator. Okay, go to the same transaction, IW21, and you have the same screen on BlackBerry. Okay, I'm going to enter the information here. Okay, main work center, start date, and time. And then click on the context menu, submit, same push button, runs the same script, and then you have a success message here. Okay, 653 created. Okay, I'm going to log into the change transaction just to show you that it actually works. Okay. So go to IW23, and then 653 was my last notification on the BlackBerry. Hit enter, and that is what we have. Okay, so you can create a solution using a developer kit for one interface and then render it to multiple touch points. Now this creates a JavaScript in the backend. You have to go in and make changes to the JavaScript. The screen that you see created by Workbench needs to be modified, and you can use Designer for that, which is another component in our developer toolkit. You can change the label of the fields, move them around, and then you can add more validations and error handling in your script that Workbench creates. So depending on the transaction that you are in, it will take you anywhere between 20% to up to 60% in your development cycle by using the developer toolkit. And it all depends on the transaction and your requirements. Okay, and now moving on to our MM side, I'd like to ask you a quick question here. Now there are multiple ways you can create a material. Okay, the user can do it in SAP through SAP GUI, or using Excel is one of the other common practice. Okay, so I'd like to know how many of you do use Excel to create a material. Okay, we'll give 5 more seconds and close the poll there. Okay. So this is what the result says. There are about 25% that uses Excel, but most of them do it directly in SAP. And I believe the transaction you use is IW21. I'm sorry, MM01. Right. So the common challenges with MM01 transaction. Of course, too many screens the users have to go through, too many fields. The users have to enter up to 100 fields depending on the material type. The finished product being the most extensive one, you have to go through about maybe 25 different screens with 6 or 7 fields on each and every screen. Okay, figuring out what field to enter value in for what material type is a major challenge. Okay. And then after you create a material, extending a material is another challenge. And if you have multiple plants, multiple storage locations, multiple warehouses, extending can be very time-consuming job. Okay, so sometimes the users tend to use Excel to enter the information for the material, and then a supervisor or the manager has to upload that information into SAP, which results in redundant data entry and time lost. Okay. So with GuiXT, you can streamline again all those tabs, all those screens onto 1 or 2 screens. Okay. Sometimes when you create a material, you also have to create a class before you create a material. Also, sometimes the users have to create pricing conditions when they create a material. Okay, so there are multiple transactions that might be involved in the material master or the material creation as well. By using GuiXT, our customers typically save a lot of time in training, and some of our customers were able to standardize their processes, making the users more efficient, and the errors were almost boiled down to nothing. Since most of the audience here know MM01, I think the poll said about 80% of them do use MM transactions. These are the native screens. I think almost everybody can relate to it. Too many screens to go through, 25 screens to be precise here. And this was for creating a finished product. You have to select all the views, and depending on how many views you select, you have to go through all those screens. This is the after. Okay, so let me show you what we did for this customer and what you can do. Now here I'm assuming that you create a class and then you create a material. So this is to show you how you can combine 2 transactions in the MM area as well. So you go to MM01 transaction. Okay, it's again not a Z transaction. If you're not touching the back end, everything is only on the front end. Okay. This is the initial screen you see on MM01. You can create a material from scratch, or you can do a create with reference, which is what I'm going to do right now. So you create with reference, select the material type, and instead of drop down, these are simple radio buttons with plain English names. You don't have to remember the codes, FERT for a finished product, or RAWA or HAVA. Okay, no code words, plain English names. You click on the radio button, and depending on what material type you select, it will display a different interface for you. Okay. For a finished product, you have a 2-screen process. for a raw material or trading good, you only have a one-screen process. So the users, they come in, enter the information, the org data, you enter the copy from. This group box here is for a different transaction, CL01, which is creation of class. And you are supposed to complete this transaction before you can create a material. So you can use the class number or the success message that comes from the transaction into MM01. Okay. You click on create class and get data. And this runs the script behind the scene, goes to CL01, creates the class, goes to MM01, gathers the information for that reference material, and displays it to the user here in a unified one-screen or two-screen process. No more navigating through 25 screens. All the fields that the users need from different views are right here. The users can verify this information. Okay. Most of the fields are open, so they can change it. Some of the fields have been changed into radio buttons. So again, they don't remember the codes EFX, which makes no sense to the users. And you click on continue, and you have a second screen for MM01. Verify the information, click on save material, and this creates the material for you in SAP and brings you back to the initial screen. So instead of 25 screens, you only have 2 screens to go through for a finished product and only 1 screen for a raw material. Now, for the 20% that do use Excel to create the material, okay, I'm going to show you a quick example on how GuiXT helps you as well. Okay, so what we do is create a push button in SAP where you can integrate the Excel information. The users would click on that push button, and this can reside on the very first screen if you like. I just put it on MM01 so that you can relate to the same transaction. And then you can select the Excel spreadsheet, which contains all your material master data. Okay, in this case, I only have 4 records. You can have up to hundreds or even more. And it's going to start uploading 1 record at a time. Okay, no other user interaction required besides selecting the Excel spreadsheet. Okay. If everything is okay, it's going to put the information into SAP. If there are error messages, it's going to bring you the error message. All your certain validations that you have in place for MM01 would take effect in your Excel spreadsheet as well. You don't have to create new validations for Excel. We just work with existing validation security and authorizations that you have set up in SAP. Now here we have 2 records that has errors. Okay, it points out, GuiXT points out where the error is. It turns that particular screen into red, so the user can go in and change the information, enter the right digit of measure, enter the right storage location here. And then I'm going to enter 1 more record. Okay, so save the information. Okay, and there we go. Save my Excel spreadsheet, and then just relaunch it. Okay, now what GuiXT does, it picks the records that either has an error message or no message, and then starts uploading the information for those records into SAP. Okay, all the success messages that you see there comes directly from SAP. All we do is just put that information here in the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so 67144 is the material that was created. Go back into SAP, and then go to MM03, put in my material number 444, and here it is. Okay, so basically we can transfer information from an Excel into SAP. We can simplify SAP for you so you don't have to rely on Excel at all, but there are multiple ways you can use GuiXT to create material. The other challenge I mentioned earlier was extending the material. Major challenge. And here is a quick example, and probably one of the extreme examples I've seen in my career. Now, for this particular customer, okay, they create a material and they have to extend it to multiple plants. If you look at all these different plants, different storage locations. Okay, so now, for a user, when they create a material without GuiXT, they had to go through MM01 countless times. Okay, so if they have to select all like we just did, and you click on extend, GuiXT is extending that particular material to different plans. There are about 56 different combinations that the user just selected. Okay, GuiXT ran 28 which were valid combinations, and it extended to 26 different locations. Now if a user has to do this manually, they are going from M01 and going through all those tabs 26 times to extend that one material. Okay, imagine the time being lost when they have to do this. Now the user doesn't always remember the right combinations. Okay, they don't know what plan goes with what storage location. So GuiXT determines the valid combinations and extends it to them. For the invalid combinations, it would just give them a message saying these were invalid combinations and there was no material that was extended. Okay, so makes extending material very, very easy for the users. I'm going to transfer back to Didi for our decision-making console on the MM side.
Okay, thanks, Apollo. So just to recap, so we've shown you 3 solutions so far, end-user solutions. The first one being the plant maintenance console, which is basically the dashboard of everything that a scheduler or planner might need. Aparna showed you the plant maintenance optimization package, showing some solutions for plant maintenance. She just showed you the material management optimization package, another end-user solution for material management. And the fourth solution here is another console, what we're calling the decision-making console. So this is similar to the plant maintenance console in the fact that we filter searches and display only the relevant information to certain roles on one screen. In this example, let's say a company is a distributor of parts, and they buy and resell new and used parts. So the challenge is that they needed to improve the purchasing process. The screens were complex. It required the sales rep to navigate through multiple screens and transactions to find information relevant to a material. In addition, there were some restrictions in creating notes, so they had to go into a different transaction. And also, when they needed to order a part from, let's say, an outside vendor, they would have to navigate away from SAP. So using the material management decision-making console, everything about a certain material is now displayed on one screen. And in this case, they saw an overall processing time improvement from 15 to 20 minutes, now down to 1 to 5 minutes. So here's the before process. Again, associated with one material, you might check inventory, you might have to check existing customer orders, check existing quotes. This is all required in order to provide a quote on a certain material. Then they have to, if the material is not available, then they have to go launch into another industry site and then request a quote for material, then finally submit the PO. So what we've developed is a solution, and I'll run through the Screencam here. But basically, with our new solution, everything that the sales rep needs is available on one screen. This is in order to provide a quote on a part. So they need real-time visibility into the parts availability, and they need to track all aspects of a material. So they basically put in the material number, as you just saw. And here's all the historical information, such as the current stock availability, how many sales orders were put against this material, how many customer quotes were sent from this material, how many POs were made against this material, how many repairs were put against this material. All of this was required in order to provide a quote for the part being ordered. It makes the sales reps more efficient with the information they need on a daily basis. And it's all dynamically displayed in real time, depending on the material number entered. So when you enter the material number, it's based on batches of material. We filter the data from SAP. So here's the header information with engine type, in this case. You can scroll up and down the header level information. And here, for the stock quantities, you can see that what's available in different categories. So you can see the factory new, overhauled, serviceable, etc. The middle section shows the current status of the bundle, and the bottom section is the quadrants that show how many customer quotes were made against this material, etc. The quadrants themselves are selectable. You can choose 6 out of 8 options. So when you click on quadrants, it gives you an option on what you want to see. It shows the current selection, and now say you want to uncheck the vendor repair quotes and you want to check the customer returns, and now the quadrants are changed on the bottom based on what you selected. Okay, there's also different stock layouts, so you can see different views of data depending on which group you're working with. So you can also filter the inventory based on different criteria, such as show me only the new parts. So he's basically selecting the layout to be shown. The decision-making console also links to a supplier's website to order parts. So let's say you don't have them in stock and you want to order it from another supplier. We're able to execute a web service to the supplier and then come back with the information into one of the quadrants. As you've just seen, the GuiXT Material Management Decision-Making Console enables your sales team to be more productive. They can interpret and analyze a large amount of data associated with material on a single screen. Okay, so now we're back to wrapping this up. Some of the benefits that we see for business users, as you can see, it makes SAP easier to use. You've seen the number of screens reduced. We're able to aggregate not only the tabs and screens, but also transactions, making the job simpler. Having a simpler screen improves productivity. They don't have to go through all these multiple transactions and screens. It reduces errors, and it also simplifies the job, so they don't necessarily need a lot of training to use the interface. For IT, there's multiple benefits in the sense that because of our technology is fairly easy to use, it's all JavaScript based, your IT can focus on higher value initiatives. You can focus this on web developers who know JavaScript. All the changes are made on the front end without touching the back end. And you can extend basically one script to multiple touch points, as Aparna showed with the Workbench. It lowers risk, so if SAP upgrades, there's minimal impact. And it lowers the operating costs. There's less support, of course, with using the user-friendly front end. And the last slide I have here is the benefits to the C-level executives. It's all about ROI, right? So you saw 4 solutions and 4 samples of ROI. The plant maintenance console, it increased productivity basically by 90%. The plant maintenance optimization package, it had a total savings of $90,000 per year. The material management decision-making console, it reduced work order, developing a RFQ from 15 to 20 minutes to 1 to 5 minutes. And then finally, the material management optimization package. It training time was reduced by 75%, users were 66% more efficient, and it minimized errors. Okay, looks like we're up against the hour. Here's a slide on our upcoming events. You'll see that we're at a number of ASUGs. Please come and visit us. And for more information, please visit our website at www.guixt.com. And then for additional information, please email us. And don't forget to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar, as this information will help guide us in future webinars. So with that,
there are a few questions that have come up. I know we're done with our time. We can address a couple of questions right now, and for the other questions, we can send you answers via email. The first question here is, what about entering QM entries from the confirmed time? So the example I showed is a common used transactions on that launchpad. If your process requires you to enter entries in QM transactions, it is very easy to put a link on the same launchpad for QM or on the same screen as confirm time. Okay, so it depends on what your business process is, and the solution is very flexible to accommodate those. The next question I'll take is how BlackBerry probably uses GuiXT scripts. I think that's what the question means. The example I showed is using a BlackBerry emulator, but we are not just limited to BlackBerry. That's one point I want to clarify. You can use GuiXT on iOS, BlackBerry, as well as Android. Each of those devices has a client. It has a GuiXT client that talks to the SAP backend, and the scripts, they all reside in one central location. Now, whether you're using desktop or Windows CE or BlackBerry or iPhone or iPad, the scripts will still reside in the same location. It can be either on a network server, or you can go with the recommended approach by putting scripts in the SAP web repository. There's a transaction called SMW0 in SAP that you can use to upload the scripts into your dev environment and then transport across your landscape. Okay? So the client talks to the server and gets the scripts and renders the modified screens on the BlackBerry or the handheld devices. Now there are a few more questions here. We are running out of time, but the ones who have asked the question, if you want to stay on, I can answer those. The next one is, I'm evaluating GuiXT in this context. How would you explain the PMMM solution you demonstrated? My understanding is one license GuiXT and develop solutions, or license GuiXT also add these already developed modules. So there are two ways you can develop GuiXT solutions. One is we can come in, train you and train your developers, and you can create your own solutions using our tools. We have Developer Kit, and we have extensive training that we can come in. Normally we do the first project with you as a shadow implementation, just so that your guys are up to speed and that learning curve is not so steep. The other option, and some of the customers do go with this option, is they want a turnkey solution using GuiXT, wherein they use us to create the whole solutions, and that is where the optimization package and the consoles fall in, where we come in and do the turnkey solution for you. Okay, but we can also train you, and you can have the same output with your developers. Okay. I understand that this solution is available with every kind of PDA, not only Symbol, Motorola. Am I right? Yes, you are right. It is available for any kind of PDA, as long as you are running a Windows Mobile operating system on that handheld device. The GuiXT solution will work. If you're talking about the smartphones or iPad, as I mentioned, it works with Android, iOS, and the BlackBerry operating systems. What solutions of GuiXT do I need to have PM and MM consoles and have the option to personalize them? You need licenses, GuiXT licenses from us, and if we are providing the services for you, you don't have to purchase the developer kit. If you want to do it yourself, we can train you and provide you with the developer kit so that you can achieve the same results. Do you have similar consoles for the HR area? We do, and we can develop solutions according to your needs. So yes, absolutely. Can GuiXT be used to fill in long text fields by creating standard comments or using checkboxes to select which ones to insert? Definitely, and we have some customers that actually do that just because they want consistency on the reports or the work orders that they print out. So yes, you can have drop-down list with sample comments, or you can have checkboxes, or you can have radio buttons. They can select multiple text if it's a checkbox, and we can append all those texts they have selected and put it in the long text box as well. Can GuiXT be rendered over a web interface, i.e. instead of SAP GUI? Yes, we do have a web-based solution, and you can render the same scripts that you create for your desktop environment or SAP GUI in the browser-based environment, and also through NWBC. So there are a few more questions here, but since we are almost 10 minutes over the time. We will respond to all those questions through email. Thank you very much for staying on and listening to us. Any other questions that come up to your mind, please feel free to send us an email at rfi@guixt.com and visit our website for the presentation and the clip of the webinar. Thank you, everyone.